In the fifth aliyah of this week's Parsha, Parsha Shmini, you have a very interesting debate that comes out between Moshe and his brother Aharon. Here's the background. Aharon and his children were in mourning the day the Mishkan was inaugurated because two of Aaron's children, Nadav and Avihu, tragically died while they were bringing a karban. Now, the rule is that people in their first day of mourning cannot partake in the sacrifices, in eating of the karbanis. Yet, Aaron and his children were also the Kohanim, they were the priests. So they had to bring the karbanis that day. There were special karbanis that needed to be brought for the inaugural day of the Mishkan. There were two types of karbanis. Some of them were the classic sacrifices that come up every day, every year, every generation. The karban chatas for Rosh Chodesh, etc. And some of them were unique karbanis that were unique for the day that today's the day that the Mishkan is being inaugurated, so today there are unique karbanis that need to be brought. Moshe went to his nephews and said, even though you guys are in mourning, as you are the Kohanim, you should give these unique karbanis and you should partake in eating them, even though you are in mourning today. Later on, when he went to go check on them, he saw that they partook only in the unique, special karbanis of that day, but which we call the Kadshei Shah, but the Kadshei Dairis, the karbanis that they needed to bring every generation, they refrained from eating. Moshe got upset at them. He said, I told you guys that today you don't need to worry about your mourning. Just like I told you by the unique karbanis that you should eat them even though you're in mourning, you should logically apply that to all the karbanis, even the everyday, every generation karbanis you should have eaten even though you're in mourning. Aaron comes to the defense of his children and tells Moshe sternly that Moshe, that's not true. You told them only regarding the unique, novel karbanis that they need to bring today. They shouldn't necessarily. There's a difference between the unique karbanis of today and the everyday, every year, classic karbanis that need to be brought. Just because you told them by the unique karbanis, the one-off karbanis that need to be brought today, not necessarily should that dictate that that's what they should. That just because they need to eat those because they're in mourning, that doesn't mean that they should eat the usual karbanis that because they're in mourning. Moshe heard what Aaron said and he accepted it. He said, you know what, Aaron, you're right. It is a good thing that they did that they didn't eat those classic usual karbanis. Now the question is, we see a debate between Moshe and Aaron over here. Moshe thought that the usual karbanis and the unique karbanis should be treated the same. Aaron thought there's a difference between the unique karbanis and the everyday, every generation karbanis. Why did Moshe think one way? Why did Aaron think the other way? And why was it when Aaron told Moshe that there's a difference, did Moshe accept that? If Moshe really thought they should be treated the same, why, when he heard from Aaron that there's a difference between unique one-time karbanis and multi-generational karbanis, why, if he thought beforehand there was no difference, why now, when he heard from Aaron, did he think there was a difference? And if he accepted that there's a true difference, why didn't he say that in the first place? So this brings us to a very, very life-important discussion between the two attributes of Moshe and Aaron. Moshe and Aaron represented the two most important attributes that a Jew needs to have and a Jew needs to live by: truth and kindness. Moshe Rabbeinu was the man who gave the Jews the Torah. He was a man of truth, and he stood for truth. Aaron, as we know, Aaron was Ohev Shalom V'Redev Shalom. Aaron was a man of extreme kindness. Now, there's a big difference between truth and kindness. Truth seems like could sometimes be blunt. What is true, whether you like it or not. As the famous saying goes, facts don't care about your feelings. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, if something's holy, it's holy. Whether it's holy, if it's holy now, it's holy for generations. There shouldn't be a difference. I don't adapt to the changes in the generation. Who cares if they could handle this degree of truth or this degree of truth? I stand for truth, and truth is truth, and we have to live by that. Aaron was a man of kindness. And kindness notices the difference in the generations. Just because something was applicable earlier, maybe now people can handle it as much. So kindness doesn't just close its eyes to people around it and stand for the objective truth. Kindness notices what people need and addresses them accordingly. So Aaron notices the difference between the generations, and he says, just because you said something now is holy and should be treated one way, that doesn't mean that everything holy throughout the other generations should be treated the exact same way. And what happened when Moshe heard this from Aaron? And this is a debate I think many of us have in our heads often. In my head, I want to stand for this. I know this is ideal. I know this is how a chassid should act. I know this is important. But I know that for people around me, this might not be well accepted. There might be other factors I need to take into mind. But truth is truth. Why should I care about those factors? And this is the balance between truth and kindness. What happened when Moshe heard this from Aaron? That you should notice the differences in the generations and adapt accordingly. Moshe accepted, because the truth of truth is that ultimate truth is Hashem, and Hashem is found in everyone, and Hashem gives life to everything. So in everything, if you're really a man of truth, you could find the truth everywhere, and in every person, even if he seems distant from your definition of truth, there's a truth there. Maybe the truth of our generation of Chassidim or of our generation of Jews looks different than the truths of several generations ago, which looked very pure and idealistic. But this is our truth, and this means this is our connection point to Hashem. And it's not called compromising on truth if you're trying to connect to people. And even if you need to change the language a little bit, you can't compromise what you stand for, but you could change the language and try to affect people at their level. And truth agrees to kindness at this point. Have a great Shabbos.